Alright, gonna talk really quick. Sorry about the printers in the background. We're gonna talk really quick about these little clean dirty files, because there are a few extra pieces. So for one, here's your sort of front piece and optional little sliders, so you don't need to cut these, you only really need one. You could make two, it depends. Just glue however many brings you joy. This piece is the little spacer that is going to sort of lift the front face off and give you space for the actual sliders. These are your sliders, as are these, and then here is your back piece with your clean dirty font. I tossed a few random extra fonts in here. These are all just, they've all been outlined, so they should transfer over into whatever program you're using. And obviously if you want to swap one of these out, you can just be like, aha, turns out I don't like that, and I want this weird, ugly, lacy thing in here. And be like, cool, now we have this weird, ugly, lacy thing. So, I don't want that though, so I'm gonna undo that. So let's talk about the sliders real quick. There are 4 versions of the sliders currently. We have the versions up here, which have a little bit of extra space, so this black engrave part, that needs to be engraved and, like, sort of deeply, because what that does is it just gives you a little bit of tolerance between the top and bottom pieces, so your slider moves a little bit nicer and isn't, like, smooshed. Which is why I've separated the text, because that does not need to be deep. If you want to do them at different settings, you can. It's easy with the color coding, and if you don't want to do them at different settings, just put them on the same settings, and that's fine. So we have 2 versions. We have one little sort of like finger slide thing, so as this is smooshed over to the side, you can grab this with your finger and slide it without the need for these. So if you're using this, you don't need this, or you could put it on and do both, whatever makes you happy. This one is designed to be used with these, because otherwise it'll just sort of go in the corner and you can't really grab it without adding these little, like, mini handle things on. So these down here are the exact same thing as up here, except they have less of the tolerance up here. So there's not like additional overhang where you're going to see that little engraved piece. It's going to be a little bit tighter, but aesthetically a little nicer. And depending on sort of how you cut stuff and how loose things are, they won't wiggle back and forth as much. So this really just kind of depends on, like, what aesthetics you like. You could always just test one of them, and before you glue it together, if you decide, like, it turns out that doesn't work for me, just, chop out a different centerpiece. And of course, if you decide, like, you don't want to use these guys, you can just put these, pick which one you want, and just slap them in the little center thing and be like, cool, now we're ready to cut. Yay, great. So that's basically it. That's these files in a nutshell, and hopefully that helps. Alright, I'm gonna assemble a little clean dirty sign, like this little guy. So you got like a nice little slider in here. Alright, so you have a few pieces. You have your slider. This is gonna be what's covering the clean or the dirty side. I have a few versions of this if you're buying the files. And then we have these little, like, nubs. So I usually glue them on vertically, but these are just completely optional pieces, which will help you to theoretically slide the slider easier. So I'm just gonna put like a few drops of glue, like you don't need a lot, and I'm just gonna manually center that in here. You could do these vertically, you could do these horizontally, it doesn't really matter. So I'm just gonna put that, stick that aside, and then basically you're gonna just take this little thinner piece here, so this is like the spacer, and then you have your border thing on the top. So I'm just going to glue that on. I'm just going to, go through it. Wow, this is a crappy piece of wood. So I'm just going to add a few little dots of glue on here. I like these little bottles. I just fill them with glue myself from like a giant gallon bottle, but they last for a long time when you're actually assembling small things like this. So I'm just going to put a few drops of glue. Like, you don't need a lot, and I like having less so I don't get squeeze out that, like, sticks to weird stuff I don't want it to. So, put a few drops of glue, smack that down on there, and then you're going to put a few more drops of glue on the top of this, and put the other piece in. And this is very important. Before you put the piece on the top, you do absolutely need to make sure that you put your slider in, because once you glue everything together, you cannot go back and put it back in. So I've done that before. It's very annoying. Then you have to spend like 7 more minutes cutting everything apart, and it's a whole thing. So I'm just gonna kind of push that back to being a little center. Again, do not forget to put your slider in, or you're gonna have a really bad day. Pick the side that's less gross and burned, put that on top, and this is all just sort of aligned via the finger aligning. There's no tabs or anything, so you can print this in whatever thickness of wood you want. It's pretty convenient, quick little design.
I've been giving these to relatives. They seem a fan. And then of course you can glue magnets on the back, and that's just going to be really basic. Literally just get some, I use E6000 if you want like super strong bonds, but super glue kind of works. You could probably use hot glue if you're not selling these, but I wouldn't do that if you're selling these. Just in general, don't use hot glue for yourself. But yeah, so now we have a lovely little clean dirty magnet sign. So this is the, just, again, this is if you have the files, not if you have a kit or a pre-done one. I could have done that on the other side, and then I wouldn't have that disgusting line there. Oops. So this is the thinner, less tolerance version of this slider. So you'll see it still moves up and down a little bit. You still get a little bit of like side-to-side play, but it's pretty easy to slide. And then I just made this I think I did 100 millimeters a second at like 90% power on my 20-watt diode laser, and it gives me a nice back and forth sliding action. So that's basically it. Hope that was helpful. Yeah, have a great day.